Welcome to episode 7 of Failure is Progress, presented by Sweat Factory CrossFit. We're your hosts, Coach Keith and Coach Frankie. Keith, another beautiful Tuesday to record our podcast. How are you?
I'm doing very well, Frankie. Thank you for asking.
We got a great episode today, but first, we want to thank everyone who's been listening. Again, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. It helps us with our algorithms and kind of helps us boost our numbers up. We also want to remind everyone to keep in mind October 21st, 2023 is our Festivus Games presented by Sweet Cups Chef. The deadline to register is September 23rd for your free t-shirt. You want to make sure to get that free t-shirt. I will be competing in that competition. I'm excited about it.
Throwing down.
It's going to be a fun one. So again, October 21st, 2023, Festivus Games presented by Sweet Cups Chef. We hope to see you all there. And if you see me or Keith, make sure to give us a hello. All right, let's get right into this episode. Today, what are we talking about? We're talking about coaching wins, things that kind of give us a little bit of a chip on our shoulder when we see it, and it kind of gives us the most satisfaction in the gym. So
what makes you smile?
I will go ahead and throw it straight over to you first.
Okay.
What is something that you really enjoy seeing in the gym when an athlete surprises you or does something uncharacteristic?
Like their reactions? Is that what you're talking about? Or
It could be a reaction. I mean, I would say more of like, obviously everybody gets crazy when we hit a PR, right? You hit a big number, but outside of the normal, something that gives you a big win. For example, I'll give you a big win that I love. I love when an athlete comes and says, "Hey, everything I've been doing in the gym has been so beneficial outside of the gym." Using Pedro Esaki as an example, who is, by the way, our athlete of the month in Groveland. He comes up to me and says, "Hey, man, this has been so beneficial. I just want you to know I have a big win to share. My A1C went down from 14 to 7. Like, this is why we coach, right? This is why we're in the gym trying to help people become fitter, healthier, happier. For me, that's the biggest of all wins, right?
Sure.
You can come up with how many times somebody has lifted more or beat a mile time, and obviously whenever we have our assessments, those are always great spots to shine a light on. But for me personally, as a coach, like, that really means the world to me. Hearing that the gym is causing outside positive effects.
For sure. Yeah. Mine is the same. Yeah. I had one of the athletes at the Claremont location. Her name's Rebecca. I've mentioned her on the podcast before. But yeah, she came to me and was talking about how she was able to be more comfortable playing her piano. She's a music teacher, and for a while, her joints were getting pretty bad, and she wasn't able to play. But then, we worked some things with her workout so that she wasn't beating up her hands so much. She was able to kind of rest her grip on certain movements and things like that. And she was like, my hands feel so much better. I can get through a whole lesson and not have to constantly, rub my fingers down and things like that. So that was a huge win for me, seeing somebody who enjoys their fitness to the point where, they're willing to make their hands hurt, even though it's affecting the rest of their life.
That's amazing. I didn't know she was a music teacher. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So this is one of the things that we like, right? We like to see these in and out of the gym benefits. What about outside of performance? What about I don't know. Like, let's dive into mental health.
Okay.
Right. What about on a mental health note, when an athlete comes in and they're having a really bad day, and they can come up to you after class and say, "You know what, I was having a really crappy day, but I really appreciate the class you gave today, and I feel so much better." Has that happened to you? Does it happen often?
I think you have realized by now that the the compliments don't come as often as you originally expect them as coaches. But yes, to answer your question, that has happened once or twice in my coaching career. I actually haven't had anybody as far as like mental health from this particular gym come up to me and like say it verbally to me, like, "Hey, I really needed this workout today. I came in a bad mood, or whatever the case is, and today just really helped. Thank you." Um, but I have seen it on some people's faces. Sometimes their mood change. They're walking a little bit taller when they leave the gym. They're smiling a little bit more, and to me, that's definitely a coaching win when you can take somebody who is just not feeling it that day. They probably rather be anywhere else, but they're just here because of their discipline or whatever.
Yeah.
And then they're walking, they're leaving out, they're high fiving people, and just having a good time. So.
Have you ever had a situation where you had to suggest an athlete leave because of the mood they were in? I'm asking this out of curiosity. I haven't, but I
Mhm.
am curious if you have.
Um, I have had instances in where I probably should have asked someone to leave, but I actually made the situation worse by being the worst version of myself and kind of escalating the situation to something where it should not have been in the first place. There was a young lady I used to coach at one of the other gyms, one of the several gyms that I have worked at, and she just came in, and there was nothing that I could possibly do to help her.
Yeah,
There was nothing I was going to say. There was nothing I was going to have her do. There was not even changing the workout or having her just have what I like to call a moving day, where you're not here for
right.
fitness. You're just here to move and clear your mind. There was nothing I was going to do. She was just in such a place. And unfortunately, I let that my ego let that frustrate me, and I lashed out on her, she lashed back, and it just became this whole big thing that it never should have been in the first place. I probably should have asked her to come out to the parking lot, and we could have had something had a discussion, and
I thought you were gonna
probably
say fight.
no. I like I said, if I hadn't gotten frustrated, and I would have looked at it from a perspective of I am here for her,
Right.
she's not here for me. I probably would have been like, "Hey guys, like finish up whatever you're doing," and then I would have asked her to come outside and be like, "Hey, like, look, what's going on? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what's really happening? I know you're not upset at anybody here. Like, you're kind of." In all honesty, throwing a tantrum in the gym, like, is there anything I can do to help you? Like, you know what I mean? Instead of trying to out attitude her, for lack of a better phrase,
Yeah, yeah.
because that definitely did not help anybody's mental health.
I'll tell you, man. I've said it numerous times, and I'll gladly say it on here. To me, CrossFit is mental health that gets your body fit. Um, the whole reason why I started CrossFit was to try to get a break mentally from my day to day.
Mm.
My confidence and my ability to remove myself from crappy situations skyrocketed when I got into CrossFit. There have been multiple days where I came in and felt like I shouldn't be at the gym.
When did you first like become aware that like CrossFit was helping you with your mental health? Was it like an immediate thing?
I wouldn't say it was immediate, but definitely within like the first 2 months,
Mm.
I could notice, and I noticed it really at my job, where just on my drive to work, I was in a better mood. I started going to the 6 a.m. class, and it wasn't a very large class. We were maybe at most 8 to 9 on most days, and great athletes in the morning. I really love that class and that time. Getting up before everybody else and getting into the gym at 6 a.m. was great for me. It gave me a purpose. It gave me a motivation. Um, I was doing 3 days a week at first. I was doing 8 classes a month.
Mm.
And I started noticing that on the days that I went, I was feeling a lot better than the days that I wasn't going.
Mm.
I started noticing that I would wake up on Saturday earlier because I was used to waking up to go to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
So then it was like, okay, I'll wake up on Saturday and I'm not gonna use up one of my days, but I'll go for a run or I'll go for a ruck. And the more that I exerted myself, the more I gave myself the ability to, like I said, remove myself from feeling crappy. And then, with that came audiobooks and podcasts that I would listen to that would also, kind of give me a compounding effect.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was also, the camaraderie of the other athletes, and it was also the coaches. Yeah, my first coach was Coach Ricky, who's no longer with Sweat Factory as a coach, but he is an athlete at Groveland. And Coach Jen was huge as well. And being able to take 5 minutes after class or 10 minutes after class and have the coach just say, like, how's things going? How do you feel? Are you enjoying being here? And being able to just sort of vent because, and I think I see it more as a coach now than I did as an athlete then. We're not just there to coach you on your form and stuff. Like a lot of times we're almost like a little psychologist, we want to hear you out, and people don't understand how much better they can feel when they let their feelings out, right? A lot of times we hold our feelings in and we want to take it out on a barbell or we want to take it out on a kettlebell, and that's great. But being able to do that and then having the courage to just say, yeah, I'm a little bugged out because I have to do this or because I have to do that, or, my job is just getting under my skin because, they cut my salary or they're making me work extra hours, whatever it may be, these little things that we think we can just hide under our skin, they show on our face. And letting them out and having coaches that actually want to listen to you and care about you, it means a lot, and every one of us have been in the gym when we see a coach and an athlete having a conversation, off to the side. And a lot of times it's not just, what do you think? Why am I not getting my double unders? It could be nutrition. It could be, why am I struggling so hard with my nutrition? Or it could be, I'm just having a really hard day because my kid drove me crazy last night.
Yeah.
All of these things are valid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And being able to speak them freely with your coach and feel comfortable with your coach says a lot about the coach being open and listening. And it says a lot about the athlete as well. I think that is progress as an athlete. I think having the confidence in yourself and the trust in yourself to be able to have that conversation with a coach is vital to your success.
Absolutely.
For me, it has definitely been, and I know it has been for others. We all deal with things in different ways, but I think that is a huge win in the biggest way. Having any athlete, and I've had many who have approached me after a class and just said, thank you. I really appreciated this class. And, just having that simple question of how are you feeling tucked away under your sleeve and just saying, how are you feeling? And having the courage to respond with, I'm not feeling well, is important for the athlete. The fact that they know that they can is important as well. But I've had that.
Sorry to cut you off, but
Yeah.
What made you feel comfortable to have that vulnerability with your coaches so that you could get that mental health help? I don't know.
I think it was what made me feel comfortable was the coach. Like Ricky was always very open. Hey man, how are you doing? How are you feeling? It was also the consciousness of the coach to say, hey, I noticed today you weren't really like on your game. There's other days when you're a little more intense or you feel a little different. Today you were a little more reserved, or are you okay? Are you feeling well? And it may have just been, I want to make sure you're not hurt, or I want to make sure that you're not just trying to recover. But that approach from the coach meant a lot. Approach from a coach.
There you go. I didn't know it.
And same for Jen. Jen has always been very good about recognizing and seeing people who are just slightly off, and just being able to say, hey, are you okay? Is everything cool? How'd you feel about the workout today? You don't have to just, as a coach, approach them and say, hey, by the way, you look like crap today, and you really sucked.
Yeah.
You
That's
can.
usually my approach. Like, everything you did today was trash. Why are you here?
I can so picture you saying that. But I mean, I think the coaches had that approach with me, and it meant a lot. And I think I'm trying to do my best to pay that forward as a
Mm,
coach. Um, I want my athletes to feel comfortable opening up about things because it matters in so many ways.
for sure.
I had a conversation with an athlete recently who wasn't feeling great, and she was very open and just said, I'm not feeling great for X and O reasons. And I think immediately after having that conversation, this was maybe 5 minutes before the warm up. Immediately after having that conversation, she got into the warm up and she just had a great workout.
Hmm.
If she wasn't open to having that conversation, that would have probably been different. If I wouldn't have been aware, if I wouldn't have been aware of her attitude coming into the gym, you know, that may not have happened. So
Hmm.
I think it goes both ways. It's a two-way street.
For sure.
But for me, initially, as an athlete, just to answer the question, that's what it was. It was the openness of the coach and the awareness of the coach to see that I had an off day and inquire for
Hmm.
whatever reason it was. Um, some coaches may be less open. They may just be like, hey, man, you don't seem like you're yourself today. And then you tell them, yeah, I don't feel well. And they'll just be like, okay, well, I hope you get better. And that's okay. I think that I know I speak for myself, and I know that there's a few other coaches within Sweat Factory who are a little bit more aware about that because they've done it for me, they've done it for you. Um, and thank you to those coaches,
Yes,
and thank you to the athletes that trust us.
absolutely. I wouldn't have a career without you. So thank you to all of those athletes. Um,
I
yeah, no,
wouldn't
that's
have a
awesome,
career
bro.
without you.
I literally wouldn't. Um, yeah, bro, that's awesome. That you had that were able to build that rapport and get comfortable. If there is anybody who is trying to develop more mental acuity, I don't know how to say that in a better way, but is trying to get that mental
Awareness,
health.
maybe.
Yeah, get that mental awareness of where they are with their mental health, because you don't know what's wrong until you know what's wrong, right?
Of
So,
course.
do you have any resources, or just what made you start diving deeper into that?
Um, you know, that's a long conversation. I
Well, for me
have,
personally, it was performance. Everything
yeah,
that I started out in CrossFit was always performance, and then I started diving into like sports psychology, and I was like, oh, this is actually helping me in my real life. So I should probably apply
you
this to other areas.
you've made it pretty clear you've always been a cyborg. Um, we get it, and for you, perfection is just what you are. But
I don't know about that.
no, I mean, in all seriousness, as
Yeah.
far as resources, I mean, it is very different for everyone. Um, being that I came from the news industry, it was always front and center for me, always seeing how many people suffered from mental health. We have a lot more awareness about it now than we did
Mm,
in the past.
yeah.
But I did suffer with it a lot, and I did suffer with it a lot because I was in news.
Hmm.
The news industry in and of itself has just catered to negative all the time. And even when they're trying to be positive, they're putting a negative spin on it
Yeah.
just because
It gets ratings.
it does get ratings, but it's also a pattern that we've just learned to follow in that industry.
Mm,
And nobody's really pushed against it. And for me, it took a lot of self reflecting, and it took a lot of me wanting to help myself. Going out and rucking 6 miles a day pushed the needle a lot for my mental health. I think when I was at my worst, that's what really got me out of it.
mm,
The other thing that really helped me get out of it was listening to a lot of podcasts from people who are mentally tough.
mm.
Like I've mentioned Goggins in the past. I've mentioned Andy Frisella. Andy Frisella really helped me out in terms of that. I don't listen to him a lot anymore because he's just become political now. But listening to guys who tell you things how they are, nothing is going to get better.
Yeah.
It just isn't, right? Like this whole idea of hoping things get better or wishing things could happen. Um, the fairy tale of if I try hard enough. No, there is no trying. There is no, wishing or hoping, and it's funny. I've had this conversation with Jen. One of the text messages that I had with the Sweat Factory hotline when I was first inquiring about joining, and I believe it was Jen that wrote to me and said, "Hey, how was your first class? How did you feel about it? Do you think you want to join up?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna think about it, and maybe I'll come in, in a few weeks." And her response was, "We don't really do maybe here. You either jump in or you don't. So jump in." And I said, "This is exactly what I needed to hear. Like,
Mm.
this is what I need at this moment in time." And I did, and here I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
The more I went, the better I felt. The better I felt, that snowball effect happened. For most people that join our gyms, I think they join for a lot of the same reasons. It's to lose weight,
Mm.
right? Losing weight has always been like the epicenter of why exercise is a thing. For me, it was definitely mental health. I gave up on trying to lose weight about 6 years ago. Just I kind of accepted that God made me this way and I'm always going to be overweight. So when I joined, it was purely from the mental health perspective.
Mm.
And sticking with it has made my mental health as good as it has ever been.
Mm-hmm.
It's also made me go against everything I thought, because now I don't think that I'm stuck in that body that I had. Now I think I can look like whoever I want to look like. I can perform like whoever I want to perform like. And again, it comes from that mental health aspect and from having that clarity. So for me, that's been, and it kind of still is. Now as a coach, it's still the same. Like there's days when I wake up and I maybe don't want to go coach,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think to myself, but I can be there for someone.
Yeah.
I can maybe today somebody's going to have a bad day, and just me showing up with a smile on my face can offset all of that.
Yeah.
And I've done it enough times to where it's really, I'm not going to say it's a habit. It's just what I do. I just wake up and I want to do it,
Yeah.
and then there's days where I'm not coaching and I'm like, okay, but I'm going to go to the gym because this is what I do. I want to be in the gym every single day.
Mm.
Maybe I'm addicted.
So, yeah. I mean, there is that whole thing that CrossFit's a cult, so maybe we just we suckered you in finally.
Yeah, right.
um, and you're a coach now, so you're basically a cult leader. No,
Speaking speaking on the opposite side of that, being that you are just purely performance oriented, or I would say majority, the majority of your focus is on the performance side. How do you handle situations with that? Is it something where you kind of want to or would prefer not to get into it, or is it something more where it has to come to you more?
you mean like if someone's battling with mental health?
Yeah, if
Okay.
someone's battling with mental health, or I wouldn't even go so far as mental health, but just having a bad day. They're just having a bad day. Like, do you see an athlete and say, "Well, this probably won't be a good idea for me just from past experience to dive into with that person," or is it better for you to just kind of let them be the initiator, so to speak?
I mean, it's always going to be a very delicate approach, no matter what the situation is. But 9 times out of 10, I am more concerned about the person. So I try to remove myself from the situation, and that helps with that ego trip that I was talking about before. um, so it's not about. I've learned that this industry, this career that I've chosen, has nothing to do with me and everything to do with the athletes that are out there on the floor. So if somebody comes in, they're not having a great day, if they're even mad at the world and they just don't want to hear my voice at all, I can kind of pick up on that a little bit, and I may drop a couple questions here or there. And then as the class goes on, they might slowly start to open up, and then they'll come to me and we can have that full conversation. Yeah. But usually it's just setting the environment. So at the whiteboard, you know me, I try to crack some jokes to get people
terrible jokes.
Horrible jokes. Usually there's only one person that laughs, and I'm like, thank you. I don't feel like I'm that big of a dork anymore. But yeah, usually, just creating that light atmosphere allows people to kind of open up a little bit more. So I don't have that problem as often as I used to, because I didn't set the tone the way that I do now. But yeah, by the time people are getting into the warm up, I try to check in with people like, hey, how was your weekend? Something that I learned from, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm blanking on this guy's name right now.
Ben Bergeron.
No, it's one of the seminar staff coaches, the black guy.
Oh man, I don't know his name, but I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, I can't think of his name. But something that he always says is just ask one more question. So instead of just saying, "Hey, how are you doing?" most people have a knee-jerk response to that. They just say either good or fine or I'm all right or whatever the case is. And then just go ahead and follow that up with one more question. Oh, okay, how was your day? And then usually you'll get one of those knee-jerk responses. Oh, good, fine. Okay, well, what'd you do today?
Right.
It's like, oh, just work, And then you're like, oh, okay, well, what do you do if you don't know what they do? Or how was the office or whatever the case is? Just continuing to ask that one more question. Eventually you'll get to something that they actually want to share about.
Right.
But if it is one of those cases, like I said, where they just don't even want to hear your voice, maybe ask one or two questions. You'll get a fine here or there, and then go back later and ask another question. And slowly throughout the class, eventually they start to feel more comfortable and kind of open up about that.
Yeah. It is. I mean, you definitely have to know when to tread lightly too, because some people just don't want to, right? Sometimes we don't want to. Some people, they don't have a problem with their mental health. They just know, leave me alone. I don't want to talk about anything.
Yeah.
And you have to tread lightly. But I think for the most part, our athletes are all on the same wavelength, where we're all here to get better. We are all here to be part of this community. And we really appreciate each and every single one of you. Speaking of which, I do want to, this will be the first time we do this, we do want to say or spotlight our athletes of the month in each of our 4 gyms.
Yeah.
Over in Rockledge, we want to say congrats to Athlete of the Month, Don Murray.
Don Murray.
Over in Claremont, you want to give brother a shout out?
I'm going to try. I'm going to jack up his last name, but we got Justin Forche.
Nice.
Congrats, Justin. Congrats.
Over in Groveland, Pedro Asaki, my buddy Pedro, I'm so proud of you.
Pedro, you killing it, brother.
And over at Afterburn,
we got Megan Allen at Afterburn. She's going to be our Athlete of the Month.
Yeah, this might actually be like a breaking news too, because we just found out it hasn't even been announced yet. But congratulations to all of you, and thank you for your.
That's not breaking news. I don't know.
ESPN is as much news as anybody else nowadays.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you to each of you. You guys are obviously the leaders in the gyms every single month who continue to show up and prove that what you're doing is not only valid but necessary, and everyone around you is feeding off of your energy. So thank you, athletes of the month. I wonder who's going to be the athlete next month.
Yeah, we'll have to wait to find out.
Awesome, man. So thank you everyone again for listening to this last episode. One last time, we will remind you, October 21st, 2023 is our Festivus Games presented by Sweet Cups Chef. T-shirt deadline is September 23rd. Sign up before then. And until next time, we are Keith and Frankie, and we are out.
Sayonara.